is there any gain in this for the Congress? Rasheed, I'll start with you. Why do you think Rahul Gandhi brought up Savarkar?
I think Rahul Gandhi is very clear-headed politician. He's a little unconventional politician. He likes to say things that many politicians would actually dither, or they'll ponder over it, whether it's worth saying or not. But I think he's very clear, and he's started getting dividends of it, that there is a true, kind of contrasting, competing ideologies are there. One ideology of that being Bharatiya Janata Party or Bharatiya Janasangh, or we call it whatever, right-wing one, and there is a counter narrative. So he's going ahead with it with a very clear mind, and I would say with a clear conscience also. Mr. Veer Savarkar, or V.T. Savarkar, was a man on many parts. So you can go on sort of putting one part or the other. I have this sort of, for instance, this book of by Mr. Sushil Kumar Shinde. He has also praised, Savarkar. Every politician in Maharashtra, including that of the Congress, whether it was V.N. Gadgil or Vasant Sathe or anybody, they all have praised Savarkar, who lived for 82 years, man of, I said, many parts, and there were some parts of it relating to, social reforms and caste, etc., that are being very redeeming, and people want to talk about it. But Rahul Gandhi here Barkha was making a very important point, that here is a political party or ideology which did not believe in the constitution, in the national flag, in freedom struggle, etc. That is Rahul's narrative, and he has spelled it on the table. There is nobody in the Congress who can question it, because this is their core belief. We may look at it in the sense that it is not going to fetch votes, because in Maharashtra, Barkha, it was very clear. Or in any coalition politics in India, the allies don't assimilate their political ideology. They stick to where they stand. Just to give you an example, when MVA was formed, that kind of common minimum program, it had that Panth Nirpekshata. It was missing. That the word secularism was missing from the MVA document. So it was very clear. So, it's Congress, NCP, and Uddhav Thackeray. They know that, Veer Savarkar's legacy is not going to sort of unite them. Remember, Barkha, when Rahul's Bharat Jodo Yatra passed through Maharashtra, he spoke about Savarkar. So he is very clear-headed in that thing, and I think we should give full marks to him today, and previously, that he has never hesitated to call spade a spade.
So you don't think he's done himself any political harm by reopening the debate around Savarkar?
No, because it's very clear who in the Congress can support, Savarkar's, political, thinking that the Muslims should not get voting rights and all kind of things that are there in black and white. As I said, Mr. Veer Savarkar was a man in many parts, and there are some these things that are, and Maharashtra politicians have been praising, and they are being, and they are a true congressman. Who was a better congressman than V.N. Gadgil? Barkha, you had known him. Or, for instance, Mr. Shinde. So he's saying it, and so what I'm saying is these all things are very clear. It is not disturbing for the Congress or its allies.
Okay, let's open this up. But before we do that, the Prime Minister, of course, has made a full frontal assault, as it were, on the right of the Congress or the Nehru-Gandhi family to talk about being the guardians of the Constitution. There are many different clips of the Prime Minister emerging. We'll play one of them that talks about how this sort of tinkering with the Constitution started with Jawaharlal Nehru. Take a look.
उस समय के प्रधानमंत्री पंडित नेहरू जी ने मुख्यमंत्रियों को एक चिट्ठी लिखी थी। उस चिट्ठी में उन्होंने लिखा था, नेहरू जी लिखते हैं, अगर संविधान हमारे, आगे नेहरू जी लिखते हैं, अगर संविधान हमारे रास्ते के बीच में आ जाए, ये नेहरू जी लिख रहे हैं, अगर संविधान हमारे रास्ते के बीच में आ जाए, आगे नेहरू जी कह रहे हैं, तो हर हाल में संविधान में परिवर्तन करना चाहिए। ये नेहरू जी ने मुख्यमंत्रियों को चिट्ठी लिखी।
There were many other examples in the Prime Minister's speech. Of course, the emergency being one of the key references that he made. Dilip, Cherian, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra in her speech said, why does the BJP focus on the past? But then Rahul Gandhi brought Savarkar in. The Prime Minister, of course, as the closing speaker of the debate, has also rewound the clock and taken it right back to Jawaharlal Nehru and the emergency years. Your take.
I think the Prime Minister's effort, from what I saw of the speech so far, was clearly, the imagery was that I'm going to bait the Congress and I want them to respond, react, and fall into some kind of a constitutional, mayhem in the House. And I think if you see the body language of both Priyanka and Rahul, it is the absolutely, it may seem absurd, but confidence that comes from saying, no one's going to believe this. We are not going to disturb the House, because it only create much more excitement in the BJP side. So I think that the Savarkar thing, I don't believe is really the thing which appeals to the voters, which a lot of people believe is the purpose of every speech in Parliament. I don't. I believe that every speech in Parliament, especially Rahul Gandhi's take on this, is to emphasize to the audience in Parliament, as it were, to his teammates and those across the aisle, that this is what our philosophy is. He is, in a sense, in somewhat education mode rather than in political hectoring mode. There are others
So,
who
so,
believe.
so, 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 so,
Yeah.
so you think the measure of the effectiveness of these speeches should not be by electoral consequences, but by setting the tone for each party's respective politics?
If you saw during the Prime Minister's speech, two ministers were rapidly taking notes, two of his own ministers. You know, I think that that's the kind of thing that Rahul should inculcate in more younger as well as senior people in the Congress, which is that it becomes a point, a rallying point for them to take further. I don't expect and I don't think that these kinds of speeches and these kinds of debates, and this does not extend to other, the skirmishes that happen or the issues that get raised. I'm not talking about that. But these formalized debates are meant for formal analysis and to say, this is our view, this is where we differ, and this is how we express our belief of what the nation and nationhood is about.
Okay, so a more ideological, analytical, academic
Yes,
conversation almost
yes,
than actual campaign
that's right.
strategy. Sumanth, would you agree? Because actually, what we've seen in the last some hours in Parliament since yesterday uh, has been analytical, but there's not been a moment of surprise. Everybody's actually conformed more or less to their stated positions. So the aim of it is a little unclear.
Barkha, I think the word I would like to use to describe this entire parliament proceeding, at least what's been happening yesterday, today, and so on, is more. There's only one word, and that's pointless. We've heard the same speeches from both sides for how many years now? I mean, the Prime Minister's speech saying Jawaharlal Nehru did this, Indira Gandhi imposed emergency. My God, I mean, we could have used the earlier speeches, made a collage, and just played it out in Parliament. There was nothing in it. And Rahul Gandhi again, come on. I mean, there are 100 things that you can talk about, even if it is related to the constitution and and of course, issues which connect to the people. The Adani issue is hardly having any resonance on the ground. And you are now going on to the Savarkar issue, which has even less resonance on the ground. So I think that there is something radically wrong, which the Congress needs to wake up to and smell the coffee. They don't seem to have smelt it. None of these issues are really of concern to the voters. And even on the Adani issue, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has a very valid point, but he's not been able to put it across how this actually is impacting the common man. That has not been brought out. So my point is, they either Mr. Rahul Gandhi is doing it all on his own and ignoring the advice of the experts who can probably tell him the right strategy to adopt, or if this is the strategy that they are suggesting to him, God help them, God help the Congress. Because I think that as far as this session is concerned, it was a great opportunity to drive home multiple points. The economy is stuttering. 5.2% growth last time, and even that is, quote unquote, questionable kind of numbers. So basically, there are 100 issues to hammer this government with, and we are talking about Savarkar. I mean, you've got to hand it to Rahul Gandhi. I mean, it can't get more pointless than this.
So I just, before Yashwant and Shubhrastha come in, because I have a feeling they'll agree with what you've just said, Suman. Rasheed, since you said this is clear-headed, Dilip said this is analytical. I think Suman makes an important point. Maybe it's analytical, but this is a debate where these leaders are being heard after a string of defeats for the Congress. It's also an opportunity to signal something different to the larger audience. You don't think? Like, I tend to
Well,
agree with
Barkha,
Suman that the Adani and the Savarkar issues aren't certainly haven't yielded any electoral results for the Congress thus far after the Lok Sabha elections.
So, Barkha, I think if we look at every election or every issue or every pronouncement with that electoral gain, I think the political correctness will not be there at all. I think Rahul Gandhi, since he has come in sort of active politics as Congress president and all, 2018 onwards, is very clear about this, that he wants to put the party's ideological sharpness out in the front. Whether 70% people don't like it, 60% people don't like it, 40% people don't like it. He simply does not care. And I think that is something that has got him a lot of dividends. Yashwant ji is here and he can vouch. There are a lot of political parties, Janta Party, Janta Dal, once they go down further, and they're over. The Congress has actually bounced back in terms of from 44 seats, 54 seats to now 100 seats. The vote share has remained intact, around 20% vote. Of course, it's not increasing, but it is not also going down. So this is something, I think, unless if the day Congress becomes a clone of BJP and what we call it soft Hindutva or Kamal Nath line and all, the Congress will lose its identity. So why would anybody vote for Congress? So I think Rahul Gandhi's biggest contribution, according to me, for the Congress party may not be in terms of seats. If there is anyone else who can get them more seats, then that person would be most welcome. So that kind of thing, that that sharp divide that he has brought in, and he's standing, and he doesn't care about his own party men. There are a lot of party men, Barkha, you and me know, who keep harping on the theme of
Yeah.
soft Hindutva ke majority community ka saath dena hai. We cannot ignore the Hindus and all this kind of things are said. But Rahul Gandhi is saying no, and in 2024 performance was fairly good. To say that Haryana and Maharashtra are a sort of reflection on that his prank on the reservation and all as is there. See, assembly elections are not about constitutional scheme. That we could
Okay.
get to know in 2029. But till 2029, 2024 template will work.
Okay. We do have a comment. I'm not saying this is reflective of how all people think, but Saurav Vishesh writes, academic and esoteric conversations of this nature, he's talking about the parliament debate, show how removed the parliament is from everyday issue of the voters. Stop wasting taxpayers' money and get to work or step aside. Now, Shubhrashta, before Yashwant, there's an overall political analysis. Yes, I think I agree with Sumanth that there's a kind of same old to Rahul Gandhi's interventions, but some might say that there's also a same old to the BJP's interventions, right? How many times is the BJP going to go on about dynasty? There are now 3 members of the Gandhi family in parliament. How many times is the Prime Minister going to go on about from Nehru downwards, even emergency? These are all issues of the past. Savarkar is also an issue of the past. I think if you go out into the streets today, most people will say, talk about our today or talk about our future. We don't want to have so much conversation about the past.
So, Barkha, if I break your intervention in 2 points, and I'm going to answer to both. If one were to really talk about the Gen Next, which does not want to harp about the past and which only wants to talk about future, then please tell me. Of course, since Mr. Modi is in Parliament with a majority, and he's the one who is leading the government. Um, I'm sure that there are governmental interventions that one can quote, but from the opposition side, have you ever seen Rahul Gandhi talk about artificial intelligence or this meta world that we are seeing for that matter? So when the opposition itself is going back to Savarkar, then this government, which has always been about, even now till now, it has not. It has been about reacting to the opposition, current opposition, which they feel is the larger system. If it is reactive to that system and the system itself is talking about Savarkar, then they will go back to emergency, and then they will, it's like a that no ball to them, and they are going to play it to the best of their ability. Now, to answer your question on whether this is a jaded narrative or not, I would have completely agreed with you that these narratives are absolutely jaded. If the questions that Priyanka Gandhi raised, or if the question that Rahul Gandhi raised, really came out from, as Mr. Rasheed Kidwai was saying, from some kind of an ideological churn which is happening in the Congress party. Right now, none of them, neither Priyanka nor Rahul, are coming to the forefront and saying that, listen, Indira Gandhi, Mrs. Indira Gandhi's rule was a different rule. They came from a certain ideological cloth. We are absolutely different from that. We've moved on from that, that liberal yet conservative ideology. When it liberal in the sense that economically liberal, but conservative in sense of cultural conservatism, we are absolutely different from that. We hate the India Inc. We hate Adani. We are not going to do anything to do with them, and we are going to take a certain ideological position which is very much in tune with the Kanhaiya Kumars of the Congress today. I don't see that kind of an ideological clarity. Rather, what I see right now is grass opportunism. They know that only by pandering to this kind of a rhetoric, they are going to be in the neoliberal circles. And after that, mind you, if at all the Congress party ever comes back to power, all these talks are going to go in the trash can, and they are going to they are going to met the same treatment to Adani that they meted to him in Chhattisgarh, or that they meted to him in Rajasthan, for that matter. So I disagree with Mr. Kidwai when he says that there's a certain degree of ideological clarity that Rahul Gandhi is moving towards. I think it's crass ideological opportunism, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I have a problem with analysts trying to paint it as this kind of a new Congress. Congress has always been like that. Whenever the Congress has been in the dumps, it has tried to appropriate the opposition, the smaller opposition's agenda, tried to make it national, and then come back to power. Look at what happened. I mean, if we go back to the 75, 76, 77, that time, what happened to the Janata Party government? Eventually, it fell down in a couple of months, and Indira Gandhi came back with a banging majority, not because of her own ideological clarity, but because she was extremely prudent as a politician and ensured that the Janata Party and the rest of the opposition was absolutely razed to the ground. That's the character of Congress. I have nothing against it. Frankly, the kind of business I'm in, I have nothing against this kind of political and electoral opportunism. I have a problem with this being painted with a moralistic brush.
Fair enough, and I hear you, and Rasheed will respond. But Yashwant, there are two strands of debate in this conversation. One, Rasheed and Dilip, who say Parliament is a space for something else. What's happening right now is 75 years of constitution. Both sides are, in a way, flagging what their framework of thought is. That's one side. Sumanth says that's pointless, and Shubhrastha says this isn't thought, this is opportunism, because there's no ideological clarity. And these are two completely separate ways of looking at the same parliament proceedings. How do you look at them?
Well, Barkha, two parts. I mean, as you mentioned in this debate, and the first part is that honestly, Barkha, I don't really want to understand Savarkar from Mr. Rahul Gandhi. I don't really want to understand Nehruji from Mr. Modi either. I mean, I'm being upfront about it. Okay. I genuinely believe that there is an entire set of freedom fighters. They were individuals, and no individual is perfect. Neither Mr. Savarkar is perfect, nor Gandhiji was perfect. They had their own flaws in the way they thought and like that. But whatever the debate was, they deserve the respect of being freedom fighters because they did fight for the freedom of our country. That's where I come from. And I don't find any political leader, everybody sitting in the parliament, having even an iota of even 1 degree of what should I say, capacity, or having that they should be commenting on these people, be it Savarkar, be it Nehru, be it Gandhiji. First thing first. Okay. Second thing, on the real politics side of it, I mean, after the debacle of Haryana, after the debacle of Maharashtra and everything, I agree with Suman that, this was the point where they could have seized the momentum and taken the debate on the problems that the country is facing, take it into that line, and they it's funny. It's funny, and I will, even though, I mean, Yogenji is not here, but you know, this kind of intellectual debate, like, you know, what one of your viewers actually, it was very interesting line what he posted. This suits Mr. Yogendra Yadav. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is supposed to do real politics. What is happening is Rahul Gandhi ji is doing what Yogendra Yadav ji is supposed to do, and Yogendra Yadav ji is doing what is Rahul Gandhi is supposed to do. All right, and that tells you precisely the mess that Congress is in. जिसका काम उसी को साजे और करे सो मूरख बाजे. You know, the problem is they are just confused in what their roles are. I'm happy to read a column by Yogendra ji on why Savarkar was wrong and Nehru ji was right. Most welcome. I know where he's coming from, how much he must have read a zillion books and come up with a thought process. I'm willing to read it.
Yeah.
You know. So what did they get out of it? Honestly speaking, this entire debate, barring their own corners clapping for them and like that, what did me, Barkha, Shubhrastha, Dilip, I mean, all of us, what did we gain out of today's debate? Any 1 point? Anyone? No. And as Shubhrastha just mentioned, it was a free hit, you know, in terms of T20. You bowl a no ball, you give a free hit. And what better batsman than Narendra Modi to utilize a free hit? Because the finer nuance of this debate might be appreciated by some really learned person like Rasheed Bhai. I mean, that's fine. Dilip, I mean, those who are knowledgeable, fine, it's fine. But come to think of it, me and you and Rasheed Bhai are not the common voters of this country. All right, let's segregate ourselves. We are a kind of elite in this country. I understand that. We like to debate it that way. But as far as the common man's day-to-day problem, their day-to-day life is concerned, the kind of economic distress that we are witnessing for the last almost 3.5 years in this country, not even a single point of time I have seen Congress or any opposition leader really making a great debate about it. No. Ambani and Adani and Ambani is fine. From the locus standi is fine. But can the Congress take it a point that, okay, here onward, no Congress ruled government will ever deal with either Ambani or Mr. Adani?